My name is Alireza Zamani. I'm a researcher at the Biodiversity unit, and the subject of my research are spiders. Recently, in collaboration with my colleagues Rick West and William Lamar, we published a scientific article on mutually beneficial ecological associations involving tarantulas in the Journal of Natural History. Previously, most reports on such associations focused on interactions between tarantulas and frogs. In our study, we reported for the first time an association between tarantulas and snakes, whip spiders, and harvestmen, and also reported over 60 new cases of tarantula amphibian associations from 10 different countries. It seems that frogs and toads that live within the retreats of tarantulas benefit from shelter and protection against their predators while feeding on insects that are attracted to the remnants of the spider's prey that could otherwise potentially be harmful for the spider, its eggs, and its juveniles. One of the more puzzling interactions is the relationship between tarantulas and predatory ants. Observations and field experiments conducted by my co-authors in South America, coupled with a few sparse reports in the literature, indicate that army ants tend to ignore both adult fossorial tarantulas and their spiderlings. This is quite interesting since army ants are known to attack and feed on a wide variety of arthropods. In their interaction with tarantulas, however, the ants simply were observed to enter the tarantula's burrow and gather the food remains in there for themselves, and in the process clean the interiors of the tarantula's burrow, which is beneficial for the tarantula itself. Based on on-site observations and field experiments, in interactions between army ants and tarantulas, only a few ants attempted to attack the spider. These attempts, however, failed because the vulnerable parts on the spider legs were protected by a fringe of stiff hairs. Therefore, in our publication, we propose a new hypothesis on why tarantulas are particularly so hairy. We believe that the hairiness of tarantulas could have evolved partially as a defensive mechanism against predatory ants. Many invertebrates have evolved characteristic hairs, spines, or similar structures on their body or appendages in response to evolutionary pressure from their predators. A well-known example is the dense hairs and spines of many caterpillars, which are thought to function as a physical defensive barrier against predators. Even the scales of butterflies are believed to have evolved partially as an escape strategy from spider webs. Our hypothesis is supported by the fact that many fossorial newborn tarantulas cover their egg-sacs with urticating hairs. These are modified barbed hairs that the tarantulas release as a defensive mechanism. These not only deter most predators, but can also kill certain small intruders by entering the respiratory organs. Previous research has suggested that incorporating urticating hairs into egg sacs could act as a barrier against army ants and effectively hinder their movement. Therefore, it seems that both the overall hairiness of tarantulas and the urticating hairs act as defensive mechanisms, at least partially, against ants. But do ants not attack tarantulas at all? Well, in some rare cases they do. However, in almost all instances, the species of tarantula that is preyed upon by the ants is not particularly very hairy. These tarantulas often produce more silk in their retreats and create more of a physical barrier and entanglement against the movement of army ants. We also documented a unique escape strategy against army ants in neotropical arboreal tarantulas, where the spider was observed suspending itself by the tips of its front legs from the edge of vegetation after sensing the approach of army ants. Finally, in our paper, we discussed the possibility of currently unknown repugnatorial glands in the cuticle of tarantulas. Supporting this hypothesis is the observation that cats and dogs, animals with highly developed olfactory senses, readily wince and move away after sniffing a tarantula. Tarantulas have slit-like epidermal gland openings of unknown function, which may produce defensive secretions responsible for this reaction, although further evidence is needed to substantiate this hypothesis.